Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
Boy, are there some implications of some new research is out. There is no clear evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin levels, according to new research. And if that is true, then medication being prescribed to treat these levels is not doing anything. Let's talk about this with a mental health advocate and resilience expert. Dr. Marie Cosgrove is back on my Newsmaker line. Dr. Cosgrove, thanks for talking with me. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be here with you.
So did you take from this what I took from it, which is if we've been telling people there's a chemical imbalance causing their depression, the medicine we've been giving them is actually not doing anything? What did you take away from this research, doctor?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the scientists are saying. They're saying that they don't even know what it's doing, but it's not helping with the depression, and it's not something that's helpful. So that's very serious because this is a whole disruptor to the entire industry because a medication is heavily prescribed for depression.
And so if you have these implications and the industry is being shaken by it, Dr. Cosgrove, where do we go next? Because, of course, we want our friends and family that are getting treated for depression, we want effective treatment for them. So what should we be doing here?
Well, absolutely. But before we continue, I just want to say this, that if you're listening and you are on antidepressants or you know someone who is or maybe your children are, it's so important to talk to your doctor because it's not something that you can just quit cold turkey because They are addictive. But what they're saying is we don't know what it's doing to the brain, and the serotonin levels have nothing to do with depression at all. So I think that what they're saying is, and it's something like the older generation knew, is maybe it's caused by stress or some trauma you've had in the past that has not been dealt with. And we live in a system instantly, oh, I'm depressed, take a pill.
Right.
It'll take care of itself. But that's not necessarily the solution, and you may need to talk to an expert. There are resources available for you. There's counseling, there's a therapist that you can speak to, there's life coaches, or maybe it's just a friend that you can talk to and connect with if you're if you're stressed out, if you feel anxiety, or you're depressed. And, sometimes, I know in my case, I had a lot of childhood trauma growing up to a mentally disabled single mom. And being a product of rape, she was in a lot of pharmacological treatment because she was in a car accident and it caused permanent brain damage. So I experienced this mental health crisis with my mom. And the medications often made things worse. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do with my company and why I wrote a book, because I know that there's resources available to you that can help you. And I know that pharmacological treatment isn't always the answer, but it is something that you need to talk to your doctor with because, again, some of these medications are very addictive, and so you want to wean off of them carefully if that's something that may be the right thing for you to do. But it is important because now that this realization is coming out, doctors need to be aware of it instead of just saying, hey, if you're depressed or you're suffering from PTSD, this medication may help you, because it may not.
Well, and thinking about this, Dr. Cosgrove, I know that there's been a great effort, and you're part of this, to try to destigmatize mental illness. And I think one of the ways that we've tried to do that is to say, well, it's a chemical imbalance. So see, it's a disease like anything else you get, like cancer. Maybe we just went too far with that, because if we say, oh, it's a chemical imbalance, then obviously medication is the answer. Do you think that might be part of the reason that we were so willing to accept that, oh, this must be a chemical imbalance in the brain?
Absolutely, I do, because even in my culture, I'm Hispanic. In my culture, you don't talk about, I'm a product of rape. Talking about it, writing a book about it, that is like bringing shame upon the community, and they're like, I can't believe you're talking about this. This is so shameful. So talking about some trauma you've gone through that may feel shameful or you're embarrassed about it, it's so much easier to say, oh, I have a chemical imbalance, I can't control it, this is how I was born, and take a pill and not talk about the trauma that you've gone through. Because a lot of times and I even see it in domestic violence situations, because I went through domestic violence myself, and I come across very successful women who are highly educated, and they're in a domestic violence situation and they don't know how to get out of it, and they're embarrassed to talk about it because, well, I'm successful, what will people think? And that causes trauma, that causes stress, and that can cause depression. I have a personal friend who is a doctor. Her and her husband both have had traumatic childhoods, and they got addicted to the drug and depression medication. And what happened, it numbed them, and it numbed their brain and did not help them with the depression. It just and so they had a hard time getting off of it. So I think I'm glad the study came out, and I'm glad that people are talking about it, because it is so important, because we need to deal with the root cause. We need to deal with these traumas and learn to be compassionate with each other and realize, maybe this person is going through something. Maybe it's some stress, maybe it's some trauma that they went through. And if we know someone, maybe just lend an ear, listen, maybe recommend someone, or look for counseling or a life coach or a therapist that can assist you. Because I think, especially from my culture, you don't get depressed. You know what? You get back up, and you don't see it. It's not like a cut. Oh, you're bleeding, you got to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. People don't see it. You don't see it. So you just want to move on. And saying it's a chemical imbalance is a lot easier than dealing with trauma or stress that may be causing depression or anxiety.
She is a frank talker, and I enjoy talking these issues over with her. That is Dr. Marie Cosgrove. Dr. Cosgrove, thanks very much for talking with me today.